All right, Dylan, that red light came on. I have to ask all my guests this. You want to go forward? You nervous? You okay? You're okay. All right. Well, keep going, everybody. He wants to jump into it. Well, Dylan, why don't you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Why don't you introduce yourself to my listeners and tell them what you're working on?
Yeah, my name's Dylan. I'm the founder of Kamoti, CEO and founder of Kamoti. I don't know if you're familiar with
I am
green tea
not familiar. No.
shots.
What is a green t-shirt?
So no, so in the bar, they're like one
Okay.
of the most popular shots ordered, if not the most popular. It normally requires three ingredients: Irish whiskey,
Nice.
sour mix, and peach schnapps. So, in my 20s, I spent a lot of my time down in the Jersey Shore, fist pumping and all that. But me and my co-founder, actually, we would always order green tea shots. So we would always be with our friends. So we would order
Yeah.
10, 20, sometimes even 50 at a time. And, when doing that, one, the bartender hated us. Two, it took a lot of time. They tasted different every time. So in doing that, I noticed there was a ton of inefficiencies, and just having it in a bottle would add value to everyone, from the customer to the bartender and ultimately the bar owner. So that's where the idea to have it in a bottle ready to pour. On top of that, you never really got to enjoy these shots outside of the bar, because to have them outside of the bar, quite frankly, is a pain in the ass. You have to go to the liquor store, buy the three
Yeah.
bottles, sometimes four if you use Sprite, and so one person has to get stuck making them all the time, and they're really good. So that was another problem that solved, and so that's where Kamoti was born, having it in a bottle, where we served that utility function. But upon that, we started to dig deeper on what made green tea shots popular in the first place, and that's that they're low ABV, and then they taste good. They're not as strong, you know what I mean? So it gets more people involved in the shot occasion. You're not getting as drunk. You get to still have that camaraderie with the shot, and do multiple shots and not be at the point
Right.
where you lose control and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's where Kamoti was born, and we just recently did this whole rebrand, and building this brand universe around shots, but we like to say we're like counterculture to shot culture, like, you know what I mean? Where we want you doing shots, but they're not meant to get you so drunk, but more to bring people together and get people involved in the
Sure.
shot
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
occasion that
So,
normally
so
wouldn't do
you
shots.
mentioned kind of this sort
Um,
of background. So, how did you kind of find this drink? How is it something that, I mean, I came from the bar world as well. I guess I'm urban and I'm on my way here, but like,
yeah,
where
yeah,
did this kind of, what kind of drew you into this outside of maybe just flavor, but just, is it just more of a, these are
yeah,
good moments that you had in your 20s and you're like, man, I really just enjoyed this.
yeah. So interesting, and like and where I'm from, each generation kind of does the same things, goes to the same bar. So we were taught about these shots from the older people when we first turned 21 about them. And they were just awesome. They taste good. And to your point, what I loved about them is like all my friends, people we just met, everyone was always down to do a green tea shot because of what I mentioned. They're low ABV and they taste better than, like, you have like 10 people to get 10 people to do a tequila shot. It's kind of difficult. Like,
Right.
who doesn't like tequila? Who's not doing shots? If you pull out 10 Komotis, you know, 9 out of 10 times, everyone's gonna be like, all right, let's do a shot. So yeah, to your point, I just love that it brought people together, and
Sure.
it always was a
Sure.
good
Well,
time.
let's talk a little bit about
When
the
you're doing,
challenges
yeah,
of sort of introducing kind of, I don't know if this would necessarily be a brand new product, but it's just a new product when you're building. Oh, oh,
we
there we
lost you for a sec, Jeff.
get a little lost. Are we all right? I hear you all right on my end. So I was just asking
Yeah,
around the
I missed your
challenges of
last question.
introducing a new product category into the alcoholic beverage market. Obviously,
Yeah,
probably a saturated market, but how do you sort of navigate? Like, I want to get this new product into the market and take up some. I'm assuming some shelf space at some point.
yeah, yeah. So that's a really good point. The market is very saturated. And quite frankly, people are tired of like getting pitched new products. They probably see tens, maybe hundreds a week. So the reason I was eager to pursue this and even entertain it is because one, I'm very passionate about the shots, and I really do believe there's a place for them in society. That they're low ABV, and gives people a more mindful approach to drinking. But the utility function is what gets Kamoti off the ground more often than not. a bar, we're pitching Kamoti as a utility function where we're helping
Yeah.
the bar inefficiencies, right? So the bartender doesn't have to make them no more and just pours them, and
Mhm.
you're saving them time and ultimately money. So that's where we get that, that pull through and that presence, frame of mind actually for the, a bar owner and entertainer. And, from the
Right.
retail perspective, there's no other option for green tea shots other than buying all the ingredients. So,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
definitely
so,
room for us on the shelf,
that's it's
basically.
interesting. So there is definitely then a component, it sounds like, of educating bartenders, bar owners of, hey, this is a solution for this common shot concoction, right? You got to get all these ingredients, right? You got to get all together.
Yeah.
This is a something that you
Yeah.
guys should really be looking at. So it almost seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there's almost a marketing ploy just for
Is it?
bartenders in general to be aware of it, right? Just an
Yeah.
awareness for them as well. So I guess walk me
Yeah.
through maybe how this sort of go to market. Like, what are you guys approaching for? Hey, we if this happens, we think this would happen, or if this happens, that would happen. What does that kind of go to market strategy look like?
You cut off a little bit, but I basically,
Yeah,
you're asking like
yeah,
what's our go-to-market strategy when we enter a new market? Yeah, so we usually lean heavy on the on-premise, meaning the bars, and pick some high-volume bars, these college bars or these tourist attraction places that have staff issues and are just sat like so many people
yeah,
that high volume and pitch that utility function and get people to try it that way. We'll do our best to brand the bar so people know that they're drinking Kamoti, and then normally we'll start branching out to the off-premise
mm,
accounts, meaning like liquor stores in that area,
yeah.
to cause like this halo
And
effect.
what do you guys see in terms of
Yeah.
like the biggest hurdles that you have to face just kind of getting everything off the ground? Is it sourcing materials? Is it distribution? Is it I guess a bartender adoption? Where do you guys see like the biggest hurdles being right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So, obviously, just as any startup, the difficulties is that we're doing everything. Like, you know what I mean? I have my co-founder. Luckily, he handles a lot of the operational stuff in terms of sourcing materials, more like sales and marketing. But then we also have to do the day-to-day stuff and distribution. Alcohol operates in a three-tier system where supplier sells to distributor, distributor sells to retailer, and you can't bypass any of that. So you technically need distribution in a state to sell. So there's probably accounts throughout the country right now that would order Kamoti, but they technically can't because we don't have distribution. So it's kind of like this balancing act, like which distributors do we work with? When do we expand to a new market? So it's definitely tricky navigating the alcohol industry. I'd say
Yeah,
that's probably just the most difficult thing about this,
sure,
other
sure.
than
And
another CPG
and talk
product.
to me about markets right now. What
Yeah.
are the markets that you're currently in, and where do you kind of see yourself going?
Yeah. So currently we're sold in New Jersey, Delaware, Rhode Island, Connecticut,
Hmm,
Tennessee, and Michigan. Yeah, so 6 markets total. We plan to. That's what this crowdfunding is for. We want to go really deep in the markets where we're at. Get the brand, really into those markets, and then expand from geographically, like Delaware, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Jersey, all geographically close. Like I live in Jersey City, so
yeah,
it's easy car ride for me to go visit them. Tennessee, a little dip like further down, but it's a unique market where it's very a lucrative market for alcohol. So we took the opportunity to jump on that, and then Michigan
yeah.
as well is a little bit of a flight, but it's not far. Our plan is to expand from here, and then um,
Well, how
hopefully
do
be
you sort of
national. That's our
navigate?
goal.
Like you mentioned, I think an interesting word in there around like just getting a deeper expansion in these areas that you currently have. How do you kind of balance that mindset to like we
Yeah,
should be everywhere, right? Like what do you guys
yeah,
decide behind the scenes which way to go?
yeah. So basically, when we enter a market, we want to make sure we could, do it as best as possible and do it right. We don't want to just enter a market and half-ass it. Um, So there's definitely strategic. Is this a good? Is this does this market have a lot of concentrated areas where Kamoti could thrive? Like is there big college towns? Is there big tourist attractions where we could just really isolate those and get Kamoti thriving in those areas and then branch out that way. Um, and just like, yeah, like geographically, like how do I maximize our resources? Like, if I hire somebody,
Right.
can they work two states? You know what I mean? In terms of geographically, because it's important to have field reps still in the alcohol industry. So um, it's just a strategic approach and just managing resources and how to,
Yeah.
get the most
Let's talk a little
value out
bit
of them
about
to bring to the
sort of
market.
branding around this. It feels like you've got a pretty good, strong
Yeah.
brand right now that you guys are building. Kind of, is there any story behind that, and in terms of how you're putting together
Yeah.
this brand approach right now?
Yeah, for sure. So we always get that. What the heck's a Kamoti? So well, I'll try to keep it short, but I was a crazy little kid and I had like my own language as a kid. I was really into like, the anime shows, the Japanese shows, and I guess I started talking my own language. So my dad, being a good dad, he was trying to fit in with me and he created this nickname for me, Hoshi Komodo. And to this day, he still calls me Hosh. So, I had the idea for the product and we were thinking of a name for it. And originally it was going to call it Hoshi, which meant star in Japanese. So if you see back here, that's our old branding with the star and the O. But that was taken. There's a lot of other brands with the same trademark, and we're really trying to scale this thing. So it was important for us to get that trademark. So our mascot was always a Komodo dragon. So we combined the Komodo with T, Moti, and we named the mascot the Komodo dragon Hoshi
Nice,
in honor
nice.
of the
That's
original
great.
name.
How much,
Yeah,
I guess for anybody maybe getting into anything beverage related, how much is branding a
yeah,
component to sometimes maybe even over ingredients of just getting that name recognition, that standing out on the shelves? Like, how much do you guys talk about that? Put priority to that? Like, what does that look like in your world?
yeah. Yeah, so when it first launched, it was just me. At the time, I was living in my parents' basement. You know what I mean? I found a freelance designer online, come up with
Yeah,
the brand. It got us where we got. Got us pretty far, but upon sitting back and looking at it, it's like branding is actually extremely important. So that's where we invested a lot of time and money the last year into developing this, and it was always what we wanted to create anyway. So we wanted to get ahead of it, but it is extremely important. Like you said, the markets are
yeah,
saturated. There's so many other people on the shelf. So you really need to have something that grabs the eye and
sure.
people could
And
resonate
how
with,
much do
most importantly.
you think about even changes or adjustments to it, even at this stage of where you are, right? So again, if somebody is starting to recognize, and go,
Yeah.
that's what it is, and then you bring out something new, and I don't know, you change your colors or whatever it is. How much do you sit around and go, hey, I feel like it's all this catch 22 or tugs and pulls of like, you want to do all this, you're probably
Yeah.
doing some testing of it, or you're like, hey, I feel good about this. This is connected to me. Maybe it doesn't resonate a little bit. So
We
how do
lost
you
you for
kind
a
of
sec.
approach just changes and not changing too much around brand?
Yeah, so obviously things could always be better, I feel, and you could always build off of what you have. So I think it's important just to
Mhm.
keep a foundation of basics. Like, we did change our whole branding, but we kept the name, we kept the
Yeah,
Komodo dragon, and we just elevated it. Um so, and yeah, now like we're still tweaking stuff. We're still tweaking product as well. Obviously, we're always trying to improve, getting customer feedback. But in terms of deciding changes, if it's not too drastic, um, we usually are in the camp of like, all right, let's just get it out there sooner than later. And but a drastic change, once you get some
sure.
traction, I don't think
Yeah.
it's worth doing
Yeah.
any
So
drastic
I would
changes. Yeah.
imagine you are in the ready to pour market, right? That's how you would be described, right? So how do you do like a
Yeah.
competitive analysis of this? Is it something where you're like, hey, this will work, will not work? Or is it just like, no, this matters to us? Kind of your original, what you were telling us right in the beginning. Is that more important right now? Or like, hey, we did this really big analysis of the ready to pour market and we would fit in there. Do you go down that rabbit hole at all? Yeah.
No, no, we haven't honestly. I say in my 20s, I was doing a lot of market research. So,
Sure.
I was at the bars. I was the customer. You know what I mean? I know, what customers like me want. You know what I mean? And when you're at these
Right.
busy bars, you want your drinks faster. You want, you want to know what you're drinking, right? These bars are pre-batching it or, making the quick stuff, using the cheapest stuff. You don't even know what you're drinking. You know what I mean? Granted, like in that frame of mind, is that where your head's at? But no, but if I can,
Right.
don't have to think about that, that's a win. And most importantly, it was selfish needs. I just wanted my stuff quicker. You know what I mean? So that was my analysis, my market research in my 20s, and it seems to be holding true. You know, and quite frankly, really felt like we could just build off like those moments and those memories
Sure.
we have and create a brand off that
Yeah.
alone would
Yeah, that's
be
cool. How much do
great. You
you
know?
actually listen to customer feedback, or is that something that you actually do in terms of shaping, I guess other drinks with it or whatever it is? Like, how do you sort of take customer feedback and apply it?
Yeah. Yeah, I value customer feedback a lot. With that being said, you have to take some things with a. It's interesting with green tea shots because there's no one comparison. Like every time you have a green
Okay.
tea shot, it's different depending who you make it. Um, and another thing with alcohol, it's our shots taste good, but like you're working with some. The odds are against you about making it taste good with alcohol because it's inherently doesn't taste good, but ours tastes good. So getting feedback is important, and we just we take in as much as possible and make tweaks
Sure.
accordingly. You're never going to make everyone happy, but we do feel our shots are for everyone, and to an extent, I think
Yeah,
anyone can
cool. Well,
enjoy a
let's flip a little
Kamoti
bit over
shot
to
no matter what,
fundraising.
though.
So obviously, you guys are got a lot on the plate here in terms of growth
Yeah.
and expanding these markets and getting deeper into them. Where did fundraising kind of play into this? The approach to it, why you're doing it, how does that all kind of start to come together?
Yeah. Yeah, so we wanted to. We had great success in our initial market in New Jersey. Expanded to Delaware, Michigan, also had success, and we were like, "All right, this is for everyone. Let's get it out there." The distributors are eager to work with us. We had deals in place, and we said, let's launch these markets, but let's raise some capital and do it right and really go deep into these markets. And crowdfunding was an idea, and we love the whole concept of it. You know what I mean? I do believe this is the new wave of investing, and it feeds into what Komoti's all about as a brand. Like we're a shot for everyone, so why would we not let everyone get a shot in investing? And we feel the people who invest, like now
Yeah,
you're part of the company, like you're a brand ambassador for life, so it helps everybody out. You know what I mean? And the minimum investment is low, so the barrier to entry is low. So anyone could technically be an investor,
yeah,
and we
that's
we
cool.
love
And
that
how do you
about
kind of
crowdfunding for
approach
sure.
just the mindset of crowdfunding into long tail fundraising in general? I mean, you're going to need lots of funding, right? Like funding will always probably be around your company to
Yeah,
some degree, to whatever that is,
yeah.
international, all this sort of stuff. So how do you kind of approach just the idea of it,
Mhm.
the idea of what it is right now, into the bigger picture of the whole company?
Yeah, so we always want to keep crowdfunding as a part of our plan. We feel it is the new, like I said, the new wave, and it feeds into our company, um, vibe and all that. But obviously, it's great because it
Yep.
proves it offers validation, right? So if we do a campaign and we get all these investors involved, when you go to a VC or some other private equity, you could say, hey,
Yeah.
look, people are interested in this, the money's there. So I definitely help. I think it helps. You know what I mean? Both sides. It's
Yeah,
not one or
and
the other for
so kind
us
of
at all.
moving, well, maybe over a little bit to kind of business models in general for this type of ready to pour. How do you balance sort of innovation,
Yeah.
traditional business model, alcohol industry, and then kind of where do you see maybe either other products maybe fitting into this, or is it like no, we're going to stay down this path? I guess where are you kind of right now? I'm sure it's focused on the current green tea shot, but how do you kind of navigate then all these other things around it?
Yeah. So Kamoti is not just green and white tea shot. We have white tea as well. It's the same concept as vodka. We are not just green and white tea shots. Kamoti is built on shots for everyone, and this will continue to do so. So the flavors are infinite, what we could come up with, and we plan to expand on flavors. And additionally, we want to work on formats. We want to make the shot occasion as easy and convenient for everybody to enjoy. So we're going to explore formats that can make the shot occasion
Yeah.
seamless to occur. Um, in terms of like
Just about,
the
yeah, just
what
kind of
was the
like
first part of the
the
question about the business model? Yeah.
taking that idea and applying it to traditional business models right now that just exist in the alcohol industry, like distribution and it has to be here. Like, so how do you kind of,
Yeah,
push this idea of what you're describing of shots, but then having to potentially put it into
yeah,
maybe an archaic system of alcohol industry, right? Just the way we do it.
yeah. That's a great question. So basically, the idea about commodities, we're going to use the popularity of green and white tea shots that currently exists, right? So when an account, a bar takes us in, and someone orders a green tea shot and they're utilizing commodity, they're pouring us no matter what. So we're getting that instant pull through and that instant, sale and revenue. So by doing that, we could build off of that, get the traction through green and white tea's popularity, and then from there, once we have more brand equity, brand is more known, we
Sure.
can release flavors that no one ever
Yeah.
heard of before, like ones that we
No, that's
invented.
interesting. Yeah,
So
it's really
that's the
interesting.
whole
It's
strategy with
it's
that.
a it is a unique model at the end of the day that you're really targeting after. It's different than
Oh yeah,
a margarita mix that's all together, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh yeah, it's a margarita at the
yeah,
end of the day with sweet and sour or all that stuff. But so where do you
yeah.
see, I guess, everything you're working on maybe over these next year to maybe 18 months? Like, what is the focus here right now?
Currently, right now is the fundraise, obviously, and making sure the markets that we just launched get off to the right start. So the last couple months, I've been traveling to these markets myself. My co-founder, our director of sales, Olivia, have been visiting these markets, working with the distributor, making sure we're getting the placements, and making sure the accounts know that we're here to
Yeah,
support and help them sell product. Um, from there, after the crowdfunding, probably start exploring maybe an additional market or two to expand till, and then just rinse and repeat and just keep going deep in these markets, and then eventually do another
sure.
round of funding to really
And what does it
expand.
mean to support? Like, if
Yeah.
you came to Michigan, I'm in Michigan. I'm in Detroit, right? So like, what does it
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool.
mean
Yeah.
when you say I'm going to come there and give support to, I guess, the liquor stores that might carry it? What does that mean in your work?
Yeah. Yeah, so coming into the store and helping them out, making sure that we have
Mm,
shelf talkers, case displays. We're doing tastings to help move product and make people aware of the product. Like you said, the shelves are so crowded that we need to do our part and make sure
yeah,
people know we're an option and we're available. And then the bars and stuff. We'll do an activation. We'll have a girl there giving out swag or letting you try the product. Myself will go to the bar, meet the owners, the bartenders, and just helping them, educate them on what the
yeah,
product is
yeah.
and,
That's
and
cool.
how to utilize it
What's keeping
properly.
you up at night right now? Like, if
Yeah.
what's the one that make you nervous about? Or
um, Honestly, part of my current focus is Kamodi's digital presence. And there's technically e-com's not a thing because of the three-tier system. Like, we're not fulfilling the online orders. So I'm trying to navigate this, and how do I set this up as seamless and efficiently as possible for a
mm,
consumer that wants to purchase Kamodi online. And it's great. There's so many smart people out there who have their own companies, agencies. I work with them. I tell them my problems, and we're working together to figure this out. But my goal is to make it a seamless and beautiful experience for you to purchase Kamodi online. As right now, it's very clunky and difficult to get your alcohol online
yeah.
sometimes
Are
because of the
there
three-tier system.
this is maybe I might be naive, but I'm a part of a bourbon club, so I get bourbon sent to me every month. I'm a cigar
Oh,
club
very
guy.
good.
I get
Yeah,
that. Is that world, does that exist for what
yeah,
you're working on? Like, you could be a part of a subscription box or something along those lines?
yeah, for sure. I do notice though we're on like the younger end of the demographic where
Yeah.
like they want everything and they want it now, and there's still like that ritual where they're not thinking ahead. Like, when they go to a party, they want to stop at the liquor store and grab it or just Uber Eats it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm exploring those options as well, just to get trial and try. Like, I
Right.
think there's like boxes you could order monthly and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, there's also like a ton of retailers that have their own
Uh,
independent websites that they also ship worldwide, and they have physical stores. So working with them, getting exposure on their website and stuff like that, and getting people to try it that way.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's
are some of
interesting.
the things I've been
Again,
exploring.
just a
Yeah,
question that's popping up now is, how does it work then? Let's say you get into a
yeah.
website, and they can ship globally. Do you have to also have those regulations? Like if you're just in those, so they actually would cover you at
No,
that point. So you could be
yeah,
shipped to California. You haven't mentioned California, right? Or whatever it is. Maybe there's, you know,
exactly. So like it's a three-tier system. So I would be the supplier. Once I sell it to
okay.
the distributor, oh, sorry, you cut out. Um, yeah, so the three-tier system supplier sells to the distributor. Once it's out of my hands, it's
Yeah,
out of my
that's interesting.
control.
It's also
You know what I
interesting
mean?
too, as you
Yeah.
were just describing a minute ago, like, of who your audience really is, and it does seem probably as you're more and more describing this that it is that I'm going to a party, I stop at the liquor store, that's what I want, right? It really is that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
was there any market research or anything like that to say our audience is skewing women, men, younger, older, certain demographics? Was or is it just kind of as you're seeing this happen, you're kind of taking that information in now?
Yeah, it's I keep saying market research, but it's true. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't calling it market research then, but that's just from, being out all the time and doing these shots in bars all over the country. People are doing. I'm like, I have a good idea what the demographic is, and now the
Hmm.
sales data is, confirming that. And that's not to say that we can't. And we're going to educate people on what green tea shots are, and it's not. It's going to be like, everybody's going to be doing the shots because there's a place for it for everyone. Like my we've done shots with our family members, our uncles, our grandmas. You know what I mean? And once they try it, like, oh, this makes sense. Like we have a very high conversion rate in liquor store
Yeah.
tastings. Once people try it, they're like, oh, this is great. You know what I
Do
mean? It's
you
a part
see a
a
way to
people
like
pleaser.
tie into like a St. Patrick's Day or something like that, where you become like the shot of the thing or something along those lines, where it's kind of attached to some old traditions or anything like that in your world? I was just saying
You cut out
around
in the
like, do you
beginning again.
see
What was
an
that?
ability to kind of tie this into like a St. Patrick's Day or tie it into like some traditional holiday that, hey, we always take shots of Kamoti. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's the idea. Actually, green tea shots was
Yeah,
the number one ordered item on St. Patrick's Day, throughout 34 states. So,
sure.
and we love that we're green and white St. Patrick's Day. But our goal is to especially white tea. It's so relatively new. We want people's first experience with white tea shots to be Kamoti. So you only would think Kamoti shots, and eventually green tea, same thing. We want Kamoti to be the name. And to your point, yeah, once people are doing them enough, they're gonna just have those memories tied to doing the. We started the night with a Kamoti shot for it's 9 in the morning at St. Patrick's Day and whatnot.
Yeah, that's cool. If somebody
So
was
yeah,
starting a
for sure.
beverage company themselves today, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. Um, Definitely, like you said, market research. Really, crunch numbers beforehand and uh, raise as much
Yeah,
money as
yeah,
possible because
yeah.
you're always going to
That's
need
cool.
more
So well,
for
let's move
sure.
a little bit over
Yeah,
to anything but
yeah.
alcohol, anything but fundraising and startup world. I ask everybody these questions. What are you watching right now on the old TV? Any shows you're watching right now?
Cool. I'm not watching shows.
Huh?
I'm a big like background noise person, so I always
Okay.
have the Yankee
All right.
game, the Rangers, or
Nice,
the
nice
Knicks
little
game on
background
right
noise there.
now.
How about books?
Yeah,
You read anything?
yeah,
Anything you
yeah,
read?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm actually reading a book called Drunk. No, it was an important read. It shows you, alcohol's role in society from the beginning to end and its current place, and it's interesting. It has more function
Oh yeah,
than
yeah,
you
totally.
think,
No, I mean, I've got
in
a couple
moderation,
buddies. I run
obviously.
a dad's beer night, and I got a couple buddies who are who've been sober for a long time. And even when you start to apply that, and you realize,
Yeah,
like, it's a major stitch in our world. Events, parties,
yeah,
feeling like you're fitting in, depression, whatever it is, man. It's a real magnet to a lot of this stuff. At the end of the day, that's for sure. Yeah,
yeah. And that's part of like Kamoti. We have like a lot of blog content. We want to promote drinking, and we don't want to
yeah.
promote drinking, but if you're going to do it in moderation, you know what I mean, and that's the key. Um, once you cross that line, then it becomes detrimental, and then we don't want that. And that's the whole point of our shots being lower ABV because it allows you to still do the
Yeah,
shot
yeah,
and
that's
maybe
cool. How
still
about podcasts?
be
You
in
listen to anything
moderation.
on podcast world?
Yeah. Um, Am I listening to podcasts right now? No, I'm actually just big
That's
book
cool.
guy. Every
All right. How
spare
about
moment I
songs?
have, I
Any
just been
songs or
reading.
albums you're
Yeah,
listening to right now?
yeah.
Okay.
Kid Cudi, um, his new CD album was very good. And then Rise Against
Yeah.
is my always my
Very
go
nice.
to. I'm a
Very
rock
nice.
guy too. Yeah,
And then last
yeah.
but not least,
Mhm.
how about like things that you're planning, big events this year, anything, any kind of big life moments for this year? Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. It's
I
weird.
just cut out again
Yeah,
one more
I was
time.
just asking, like, just kind of
Yeah,
big life things or big moments that you're
yeah.
thinking, like, or you're planning for, or anything like that, personal wise.
Um, just like excited to be traveling for work and visiting these markets, and like I try to like make them, all right, I'll go for work, but maybe I'll leave a couple
Yeah,
days at the end to really explore the city and stuff like that. So um, we're working with a couple influencers and our marketing agency, getting them
yeah,
some spots in the cities to generate content. So that's cool stuff. But me personally, just visiting the markets and making work trips, but
very nice.
also a
Well,
little
where
bit of
should
leisure
people go to
included.
kind of dive into your world, learn a little bit more? Yeah, where should we send in traffic?
For sure. Kamoti.com. You could also purchase right from there as well. And then our Instagram, Kamoti. We have a lot of great content explaining about the brand as well as the website. The blogs really give you a really deep understanding of what we're all about. And I would say
Awesome.
the
Well,
website
Dylan,
and
I appreciate you
Instagram
taking
at
time out of your
Kamoti.
day. I know you're busy. You're in the middle of a
Yeah.
fundraising campaign. You got a whole bunch going on. I'll obviously have links for everybody,
Yeah.
in the show notes here. Feel free to click on, or if you're on YouTube, wherever you're watching this. And Dylan, when you're in Detroit, man, or Michigan, look me up. Man, we got a whole bunch of stuff. I was down in Detroit,
Yeah.
yes, last night for shows and stuff. But yeah, we should definitely connect and
Nice.
hang out. But Dylan, again, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. And everybody, go check this out.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing more success from you in the future.
Yeah, Jeff, I really appreciate the opportunity, man. Great chatting
Awesome.
with you,
Thanks so
and
much,
I'll
man.
hit you up next time I'm in Michigan. Yeah. Later, man.